So we're sitting here today, Sunday, November 11th, with Jack Fogg. This is Dad's best friend and business partner, and he's going to make a statement for us.
You better change it to John.
Oh, excuse me, John Fogg. Dad always called him Jack. And he's going to just make a statement for us regarding Joel Shartzis and his friendship.
So, Jack, how would you consider Jules and your friendship? How long did you know Jules?
He was in business. How long were we in business?
Since 1960s?
Yeah,
Is that when you first met him, when you guys went into business?
yeah. Right after. We bought the store when Vern went out of. Vern sold us the store when he came up to La Crescenta to
La
open
Crescenta.
up the Toyota store.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember the
That's Vern Hightower.
date.
Yeah.
Vern Hightower.
And you guys were partners? Business partners, Jules?
Jules and I were, yeah.
And what kind of business did you guys have?
Used car business.
Was it
720 South Brand.
very good?
Glenville.
Yes.
And how long were you friends with Jules? Were you friends with Jules to your death, till his death?
Yeah, oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the time Vern built the used car lot. From the time it was built until Jules died.
Yeah. And did Jules? What type of friend did Jules call you? Did he? Would you say you guys were good friends?
More than once he told me he always referred to when he'd be here, and when he left, he was sure glad to come by and see me. I was his best friend.
So Jules called you his best friend?
Yeah, usually all the time. He was going, but sure glad to be by, and someplace he'd come to when he got into town, and he'd, I don't follow everything, but he always mentioned the fact that I was his best friend.
Did you ever see Jules with his son, Gary? Did they ever visit you at the house?
Did Gary come over and visit you?
Oh yes, yes, of course, yes.
Bunch of times?
Pardon?
Several times? More than once?
Yeah, a few times. Just general conversation.
Sure.
And
Nothing about business or anything.
but Jack, when Dad would come over to see you, it would be usually after his BMW service visits. He'd stop by.
Stop by on the way home.
Okay, and he'd stay and talk for hours.
Yeah, I'd say 2 or 3 hours or more. Usually he'd stop by about 6, and he'd leave 10 or 11.
10, 11 at night. And I know you said that he would never spend the night, that he would always end up going.
Yeah, he always was anxious to get home.
Yeah. And also, you had mentioned too that, what was I going to say? Oh, if I said, hi, if I said the name Steve Lindstrom, is that a name that Dad talked about while he was here?
No,
You don't know who
never
that
heard
is?
that name before.
How about David Ho? Did you ever know David?
David Ho, he was a tenant.
At the BMW
Yeah,
dealership?
he owned the store and leased the store from Jules. Yeah.
And did Dad refer to him as his best friend?
Not that I ever know. How could he be friends? He didn't even know the guy.
So when Dad would leave the BMW dealership, he wouldn't come over here and talk to you all about this great friend of his, David Ho.
No. It's just only time he ever mentioned Ho was that he had lunch with him once in a while. He'd come in and he'd leave the car off for service and go have lunch with Ho. And that's all I remember any relation he ever had with Ho.
Okay, but nothing that impressed you like a
No.
best friend or anything like
No.
that? No?
No, he never got into any much conversation about Lowe
Okay.
or Ho.
Did Julius ever say that David Ho was like a son to him?
No,
Never?
never.
Okay. And do you know if Jules had a relationship with his family? Was he close to his children?
Yeah, as much as he could be off there in the desert, separated from him like that.
Yeah.
And did he ever talk poorly about his children?
No,
To the best of your knowledge, Julius loved his kids?
oh yes.
And did Julius ever denounce his kids to you, or tell you his kids were bad, or
No, I don't think. No.
And if I was to tell you that Julius left his entire estate to David Ho, how do you feel about
That's
that?
a joke.
Why is it a joke, Jack?
Why would he leave his money to a outsider? It doesn't even make sense. That, of all things, he leave his money to his to a tenant and to his relatives, to his offspring. Doesn't even make sense. Anybody in their right mind got to figure it. But the Jules, I thought, as far as I was concerned, Jules was in his right mind. He wouldn't have done that.
Do you feel that Dad may have had some sort of a mental issue, or how would you describe it if I tell you that Julius left everything to David Ho and the general manager of Pacific?
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
And
I mean, figuring the background is ridiculous.
did Dad ever act irrational to you?
No.
Well, you mentioned when we were here last time that you thought he was getting dementia.
Well, yes.
In
Well,
his
yeah,
last,
But then that got to be,
and you said
yeah, dementia became part of the, when he'd say something, I'd just pass it off because it was dementia.
he talked about ice cream over and over endlessly. You said one time, and about buying bulk candy.
Yeah. So now, but, when you're talking to somebody, an old friend, you don't come in with dementia, you don't mention it, you just take it as part of the conversation.
Right.
Sure.
And I know you said you're an expert on it because your wife Mary's had it for so many years.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And so whenever you're talking to somebody with dementia, you don't make an issue of it.
Right.
It's not.
Did you feel Julius had dementia? Or did he ever mention
Well,
it to you?
Yeah, because he would say things, but I think he was getting, I don't remember how old he was at that time. It was in the 70s,
Yeah.
somewhere along that.
Yeah.
And I always related it to Mary.
Yeah.
I could,
And Mary's your wife,
yeah.
and she's in a care facility now?
Yeah, she's in a home up in Tahanga.
So did you think it had been going on for a while with Dad?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Did you
he'd
say 10,
say strange
15?
things once in a while. But when they said it, it's just like, you're talking to an old friend. When
Yeah.
they say it, what difference does it make? To
Right.
Make an issue of anything.
Right.
And say, well, you were wrong or something. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It wasn't important.
You loved him just the same.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he was
so
a
Julius,
man of I'd say, principles and good character. I never knew anybody any better than Jules.
and he was your best friend?
Well, I guess it was
Right up there?
Yeah, as far as friends was concerned.
Right.
Yes.
And he loved his children.
Never brought anything up. I mean, who goes around thinking you don't? He
Right.
doesn't go around saying, I love my children. I
Right.
mean, when you got kids,
Who
you
goes around
you know,
saying you
you
don't?
know, you don't. When does the subject come up that you love your children?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you don't remember anything bad about it.
Nothing.
And for if we were to show this video to an attorney, are you okay with that? If the attorney sees this video,
Well,
if
sure.
we were to show it in a court or anything like that? And do you feel any pressure yet? Have you been pressured to say anything?
No. No, I just tell you what I remember about Jules. And I'm not adding anything.
Nobody's asked you to say anything.
No, well, I can only tell you what I remember.
Yeah.
Sure. And I guess lastly, because this case is about his estate, if I was to say that Jules gave his estate to this David Ho and Steve Lindstrom, the general manager of Pacific BMW, what are your feelings about
That's
that?
ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. That doesn't even make sense. Anybody in common sense got to figure it out. Why would Jules give his estate away to a tenant that he never had anything to do with other than lunch? As far as I'm concerned, he never did anything more, any more contact he had with him for lunch, and the same way with his general manager. That was all as far as he never fraternized with him. He never
Did
went
you
to their home.
socialize? Did you socialize with Dad? Did you guys go camping and things like that?
Oh yeah. Yes, I just used to go with up to the high Sierras,
Fishing?
riding on fishing and riding on our bikes,
Motorcycle?
in the high Sierras.
Yeah. So you spend a lot of time with Julius.
As much as
Years.
anybody would that was in partners with him for years.
Right. And did he,
Did David Ho notify you that Jules had passed away?
No, I never heard from David Ho. Didn't know him and never talked to him.
and you knew Jules had other friends? You knew Lynn Efting?
Yeah,
Vern Hightower?
yeah. Yeah, he had lots. He was in, as far as
Larry
I was-
Negretti?
He was in
Knopf?
real good terms with. I didn't know anybody that was never in good
Bob
terms.
Knopf?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, insurance people. He was a good friends with everybody.
John Cosby?
Going on, I talked with
Yeah.
John who?
Cosby?
Cosby?
Cosby. That name he was familiar,
Yeah.
but I don't remember. He was always in good terms with Ellis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was.
Ellis Drum.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ellis
Yeah,
Drum.
they were.
Cecil Potter. and-
Yeah, they were always in. And
Did Julius ever bring David Ho or Steve Lindstrom here to see you?
no, I never met the guy.
Wow.
I never met David Ho. David Ho was just a name, a tenant, as far as I was concerned of Jules.
And did you think that Jules was his business partner?
No,
So
he was
Jules,
a tenant.
he was a tenant.
Ho was a tenant, as far as I ever knew.
And if I told you that Jules said that he was his business partner, would that not make any sense?
Well, if he said he was his business partner, I probably would have believed him, but he never told me he was his business partner. You know, I believed what Jules said, and he never mentioned Ho as a partner.
And because of your relationship, you knew that David was just a tenant. So if Jules told you he was a business partner, you would have said,
Why do you keep asking me that?
we're trying to
It's the
find.
same thing I just told you.
Yeah, okay.
He was a tenant, and that's all I ever know.
Great.
As far as I
Don's
know,
gotta go to a.
the only contact that Jules ever had with him on his manager was lunch, when he'd come down to leave his car for service. That was it.
Wow.
Wow. Well, thank you so much,
Thank you,
Jack.
Jack, very much.
Very much.
Yeah. That's, and of all the people in Glendale, you probably knew Dad the best.
I think so. I hell, I spent 8 or 10 hours a day with
I
him.
hope I recorded. Yeah, it says right.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very
And,
much.
We never had a crossword or, he was always a good friend.
Yeah.
All right,
Well, thank you, Jack.
thank you, Jack.
You're sure welcome.